So now Jordan was, according to my research, 33rd in passer rating against the blitz before the bye and first in the NFL after it. What would you attribute that to?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see a lot of blitzes. I think some of that may have been, his health and stuff like that and just his confidence. But yeah, it's hard to remember that far back when you're just trying to roll through all that stuff. But as of late, I think he's done a really good job making decisions. He's done a really good job creating time in the pocket, getting out of trouble, and finding some plays down the field. So I think that's probably attributed to anything. It's just his ability to move around and make some plays.
Do you subscribe to Matt Schneidman's stats and information?
No, there are no subscribers.
There's a bunch of different theories on stats, but yeah, they're always interesting.
When you look at what you've been able to do against pressure, though, and what is Jordan at, 11 sacks? I know he missed a couple of games, but just how do you kind of feel about the protection racket as a whole all year?
As an O-line guy, you're always, on edge at all times for that. So you never feel good about your protection because there's always issues. Now, when you play a team like the Vikings, there's a lot of issues. So we'll find out after this game where we're at, when it comes to that stuff. But these guys do an excellent job scheming blitzes. They bring all kinds of people, linebackers, DBs, and just they have good rushers too. So if they don't bring pressure, you still got to be on it because they have really good players. So across the board, they're a really good defense when it comes to creating pressure on the quarterback.
Adam, what makes them so effective against the run, too? Just the kind of numbers that they've put up this year?
Yeah. They have a lot of guys in the box, and they kind of play from, the front end to the back end as far as, they'll still be in too high, but they'll have guys down at the line of scrimmage, and then they'll bail out. But in the run game, they'll be down there. They do a good job moving up front. There's a lot of movements that create, advantageous looks for them or open guys. And then the pressure, they bring guys from every direction, so they can create a lot of negative plays, if you're mistargeted or you don't see a guy blitzing and you're not ready for it. So it's a big challenge, and these guys do a really good job, so it'll be a fun game for us.
You've got a lot of interceptions. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the pressure starts there, but is there, you've seen Harrison Smith forever too, but is there a real standout in that secondary?
Yeah, I think Murphy, 7, he's got excellent ball skills and does a really good job tracking it. And, anytime, and it happened in our game last time we played him, quarterback gets into trouble and just tries to throw one up. I think these guys do a really good job coming down with the ball. So we really have to be on top of it as far as the decisions that we make with the football so that we don't turn it over. But these guys do a really good job just getting the quarterback to make a bad decision and then make them pay, with their guys in the back end. And also you see a lot of batted balls up front. I think their D-line does a good job getting their hand on the ball as it's coming out of the quarterback's hands. And they've gotten a few interceptions that way too, where it's just balls batted up. And they got their guys there to pick it off. So, yeah, they're very ball aware.
What was the process like with your offensive line when Jacobs comes in this season after Jonesy last year, just in terms of getting them to two backs, both great, but both very different, getting them to understand how to block for a guy like Jacobs after doing very different last year?
Yeah, it's kind of a work in progress. I think, it's hard, in the off season to kind of get your run game going with the lack of pads. You can't really do much in OTAs just with the lack of contact and all that stuff. And obviously, if you want to be a good running team, you have to practice it, and practice coming off the ball, practice your combinations. So it took a while as we got into camp to kind of just get a feel for what Josh, what his style of running was. So yeah, I think, and then even as the season was progressing, it was kind of a work in progress there too. But I think the guys are enjoying it, and Josh is doing a great job up front. We're doing a good job, and yeah, it's been good.
When you feel that it was that they really kind of, the light went on? Because it's been pretty damn good, obviously.
I think when Jordan went down and we said, all right, we're going to have to really lean on the run game and make that a big, even more of who we are to give ourselves a chance to win. I think that was kind of where we really, really, really saw, okay, we got something here because of the success we had. And then obviously, you just build from that as you go.
So the end arounds, giving a ball to the receiver. Is that just something you use against a certain defensive set, or is it something you want teams to be aware of that hey, we might run that?
Yeah, that's definitely something you want teams to be alert for. Just anytime you can just spread the field out and kind of keep everyone on edge. That even though that receiver's over there, he could still get the ball. I think that's a big threat for the offense, and I like how we've been spreading it around to different guys, so they can't just hone in on one person or anything like that.
Potential for even more than what you got out of those.
There's always
runs?
potential for more. Yeah. Yeah.
What have you seen out of Van Ginkel? He's always been a pretty decent player, but the numbers this year are pretty wild.
Well, with them, you can tell he's a very intelligent player because of the different roles that they use him in, where he'll be on the edge doing his thing there, then they'll bump him back to linebacker. They'll play him in different personnels. And then he's just an extremely instinctive player. Just, you can tell he studies the game. He can kind of get a feel for what's happening. He's got a knack for the ball. Like I talked about guys getting interceptions. He's one of those guys that has a couple. So, yeah, he's a really good player. And he's got good size, good range. But, yeah, he's a problem.
We peppered you with questions when Wicks was dropping passes, and we haven't even brought him up in the last month. And sorry, I wasn't going to ask about drops. I was going to ask about how well he's kind of retraced his steps and gotten things going. What have you seen from him? What's been different about him?
Yeah, I think, after the issue with that, he kind of put some extra work in with the receiver coaches, Coach Mahaffey, Vrabel, Miles, before practice, after practice, and he's doing it, you see him out there in the creek just working at it with the jugs machine and stuff, and it's credit to him, just like going out there and putting in the work to, if you got a problem, it's not just going to fix itself, you got to go out in there and fix it. So, yeah, he's done a good job with that.
Everybody talks about how much Brian changes the looks in his pass coverage with the Vikings defense. Do they run that many stunts up front to him on the defensive line?
Yeah, they do. They run all kinds of games. And again, they'll bring, 44, they'll bring the linebackers, they'll bring Harrison Smith. There's all kinds of people they'll bring off the edges or in through the interior gaps. But yeah, they do a really good job disguising their coverages, and just a lot of different looks off of that. So yeah, it's a challenge for quarterbacks to try and figure out what's going on pre-snap.
Are there ways for, when you're running a stunt and the guy defensive tackle crashes down into your guard and kind of drives him out of it? Mm-hmm. How do you defend something? What can the guard do there in that situation?
Yeah, you just the biggest thing is getting as much depth as you can in order to, just try and pick off the stunt. And then the biggest thing when you're trying to pick up twists is to, whoever that penetrating guy is, you got to do a good job hitting them to make sure you flatten it out so the guy doesn't get picked. So it's kind of works both ways.
Steno, I know he didn't play a whole heck of a lot, but was it an important step last week to get Luke back out there at least and get him back to the field? What did you get out of that?
Yeah, I think for him, just the confidence of going out there, getting 10 snaps or whatever he got and running around, I think it's just, that was step one. Now we can just build from there, and just increase his workload every week until he's just, normal. So, and I anticipate him, just playing more snaps and being more involved in the game plan this week. So, yeah, it's been great. I'm excited for him to get out there and play some ball.
You know, early in the year, obviously, Sean was splitting time. When you look at the season that he's now put together, you know, Tausch and I talk to Balaga every week, and he's always talking about how good Sean looks. I'm just curious what you see when you watch him, and what you think of a guy who, at one point, you weren't sure if he could play full games, to now doing what he's done this season.
No, it's a tribute to him, and I'm proud of him. Like, he works so hard and is just such a good team guy, that you're happy for guys like that, where as they progress in their careers, you can just see the player that they're becoming, and they're doing a good job. And so, yeah, I'm proud of him and how he's worked and just kind of the work he's put forth to get where he is. That's a tribute to him for sure.
Steno, to go back to Josh, obviously, I mean, probably knew what you were getting when he came here, but to see that durability, the workload, the stiff arms, all those things, that it can become even more of an eye-popping, like, just surprise to see.
Yeah, you know, when you're around it and you see it live, you're just like, every game, there's a couple things where you're just like, holy cow, this guy's special. So, yeah, it's been pretty fun. And not only that, just like the kind of guy that he is. He's just such a hard worker and tough guy that just brings people along with him. That he's a very big influence on this team.
Watching the film from when you guys played Minnesota earlier in the season, just what do you see differently about the offense that stands out from where you guys are now to that long ago?
Yeah, the first half, you know, when you go back and look at that game, it just makes you sick to your stomach at the lack of execution, the penalties, just the bad ball that we had on those first few drives. So, you know, then you watch the second half and we come back and all that. So you know that obviously we have the talent, we can make plays, but when you play good defenses, if you don't execute and you give them, you know, free yards with penalties and all kinds of stuff like that, it's going to be a long day. So we got to make sure we're on our stuff when we go there on Sunday.
Steno, can I ask you an annoying process question? Matt mentioned, I mean, as opposed to my other annoying questions, Matt mentioned that you guys took a play that you saw from Minnesota and you used it against Houston, and it ended up in an interception. I know Matt likes to go through all the games and take different stuff. How does that work? Like, you guys, you see something from Team X, then what? Then how quickly can you turn it around and put it into something that you guys can actually use?
Yeah, I mean, it just all depends on kind of what they're doing, the personnel that you have. You know, does this fit kind of what players we have? And maybe last year at this point, or, you know, when you got a bunch of young guys, you're like, nope, I don't even want to think about that. But now we got experienced guys, so if a new concept comes up or something new comes up, I think for the most part we feel pretty comfortable at least trying to introduce it if you think it's going to help the team and be a good play. So, yeah, I think now if you rep it and you feel good about it, and the quarterback feels good about it, and the other players who have to execute it, then, yeah, let it rip.
I know how creative you are coming up with your own ideas, but do you watch other those clips too and take ideas?
Not. I mean, you watch. You know, when they're playing the opponent, you watch it. But a lot of times, I do more like self-scout stuff and what have we done, and then what can we do off of what we've done. That's where I kind of look at things. But yeah, as you're game planning and watching stuff, and you always get ideas. So it's a combination of both, I guess.